that is not disruptive, pending some big things, and one of which is government formation. But we don't think it's prudent to press forward on this and pressure firms to simply vacate. They have legal responsibilities, they have legal exposures, but also it's a terrible signal of no confidence in Iraq. If major firms are pressed to leave abruptly, and again, I'm not taking any stance on the legal merits, on the constitutional merits of the federal Supreme Court's decision. But I do believe, and my government believes, that the better part of valor, the better thing to do at this point would be to have a set of discussions between Erbil and Baghdad and work out an interim arrangement pending certain other things happening. And I've urged both officials to resume discussions, but also to resume thinking through how they will eventually get to that hydrocarbons law. But you got to get through government formation first. And that's pretty tricky right now. So don't add an economic crisis onto a political crisis. It's in no one's interest.
Thank you. Shema Khan from Kurdistan 24 TV.
Hello, I'm Shema, Kurdistan 24 reporter. Thanks for this opportunity. My question about Iraq situation right now. As a United States, how can or what can we do to finding a solution for political problems in Iraq between Muqtasar and coordination framework?
So I listened very, very carefully to every political leader that I met with, Ambassador Romanowski and I. I heard a lot of complaints, different versions of different realities, if you will. I mean, clearly there's a very there's a very fundamental rift there between several of the leaders. Some of this dispute just feels very personal in nature. That's never a good thing. Look, Iraq in 2022 has full sovereignty to exercise, or it should. Iraqi leaders have full agency to make decisions, hopefully good decisions. It's not for a foreign government, whether my government or another, to helicopter in and direct the play. This isn't 2010, it's not 2006, it's not 2014, it's 2022. And there's a responsibility that rests on the shoulders of every Iraqi political leader involved in this to get around a table and hash this out. Under no circumstances, in our view, should leaders exclude any blocks, nor rush to solutions or rush to arrangements that threaten what we saw last week. Everybody has a responsibility in this group, on either side of the divide, to formulate a peaceful set of compromises that is well within their hands. This is not an impossible task. They do not need magic solutions. The solutions lie in their hands.
Shoman Mahmoud from NRT TV, please.
Hello, madam. I'm Shoman Mahmoud in NRT channel. One person, Rakan Shedder Valley called Jardin, and then Jardin Lahari in Kurdistan.
What's your opinion about the election in Kurdistan?
Well, I think there's still discussions ongoing that are being in some fashion facilitated by the UN. I think it's quite important to come to some good arrangements to hold those elections. Just as, sorry. Yeah, go ahead. Do you want to? No. Okay, great. But I also have a sort of a word of encouragement or a word of advice to the Kurdish people. and I said this to many young Iraqis that I met in Baghdad, please vote. Please, please vote. You can't have a thriving democracy without voters. My country struggles and has historically struggled to get people to go out and vote because there's been a sort of, I don't know, Americans have often taken it for granted, that vote, and they've sort of assumed the system will just carry on and their vote isn't important. But, you know, what I was struck by in the vote, in the election last October, the national election, it was not a great level of turnout, but it was the cleanest, most transparent election Iraq had ever had. And independent candidates for the first time achieved places in significant numbers. So, you know, I'm not, my advice is of a general nature on this matter. I think, you know, the two parties need to come to terms on the arrangements, and the UN, the UNAMI, head of UNAMI will give excellent advice, technical advice, and then you need to get on with it.
Agnes from Dro.
Thank you very much. I think one of my colleagues already highlighted this, the oil and gas issue
Yes.
between KRG and Baghdad.
Mhm.
But I want to clarify this matter a little bit more from a different angle.
Mhm.
And as we know, tensions between Erbil and Baghdad have escalated in the past few months
Mhm.
after the Iraqi Federal Supreme Court
Yes.
ruled in February that KRG's oil and gas law was unconstitutional. And recently, oil firms operating in Kurdistan asked the United States to help diffuse an upsurge in tension between Erbil and Baghdad.
Mhm.
And my question here is what the United States has done or will do to mediate between the two sides, and what is the role or the position of the United States on this matter?
Well, this is where I get to say I'm not at liberty to provide details of diplomatic discussions. No, in all seriousness, this sort of thing is best discussed in private and not discussed in public. You're right, there have been substantial tensions in these last months. Over the course of, again, 20 years of watching Iraq, you know, there are many unresolved issues, and this is one of the most important ones, obviously. So, although I was joking in a way about this has been an issue for 15 years, it really does need to be sorted, and sorted in a way that provides stability of planning and participation for, you know, be they American oil firms or any others, and service companies that are quite critical to the functioning of the KRG's fields. So, you know, our good advice, I think, is best provided in private.
Thank you. We are taking last question from KGU, KNN TV, please.
السلام عليكم وسيم ونامسن والله بشاركين أويا دو خيرين كل سنة كل أمني ورسالة ناس أفهم جيل جاربان ويكام برضو مرة كنا وكاد أريد الآن هيجي ناس راوا ما تخترين كل سنة مشك باران كابودا أمريكا شون
The current security situation in the Kurdistan region is unstable, especially the border points and the border gates. We can witness recently being bombarded by neighbor countries, and also even inside Erbil in the city center were also a target of drones attacks as well.
أمريكا شون شلوني هريم كردستان كابوي كام برضو مرة راجل عندنا ولا كان جاوس لنا وفزان الشوكات عن شون شلوني هذي بيشمرقة كات وبردوام لا شلوني كان يقول هذي بيشمرقة ويجيبون هذي بيشمرقة.
My question is, in what way the United States government can support the KRG Kurdistan region in order to stop all these threats and bombard from the neighboring countries, as well as all the political groups who are targeting this city, and at the same time, in what way you are supporting Peshmerga to get union in order to do better for the stability in the city?
So I'll start with the last part of the question. We've been involved in an effort for some years, and we're going to reinforce and deepen those efforts to help the Peshmerga to unify in all of their efforts and so on.
Thank you very much. I think we are ending the on the record portion. We are,
Sorry, she's translating. Yeah, let me just finish the rest of the question. As to the other parts of your question, they relate to a whole set of factors that go way beyond KRG, right? These groups that you mentioned, militias, militias that are connected to political factions in Baghdad. Militias that are connected to factions that are connected to your neighbor. If I were Iraqi, I'd find this an intolerable situation. And I've said this to every leader I've met. The leaders have to decide on an important set of decisions to take them forward to form a new government, keep the current government, go for early elections, but keep the new government, keep the old government.